Now, boy, oh boy, last episode, I definitely left you on a cliffhanger, so you didn't actually get to fully see what it looked like for this train to go through the nether portal. But today I've got a ton planned. We're going to be building a separate train that is going to be for transporting items from one area to this loading dock. Yeah, we're going to have a train that is literally like a pipe in modded Minecraft that's going to be taking items essentially from one distance to another through these portals and over to here, and that's going to be its primary only job. But there's still a lot of decorating and clearing out that I've got to do because this goes through the nether, so I'm going to have to clean a little bit of the nether up, and I also want to clean a bit of this area up and make this little side tunnel look a little bit nicer as well. And I'm also going to probably clear off the top of this mountain where our factory is going to ultimately go. And there's still a lot more cleanup that I want to do on this side too. And I think this is going to be perfect for another Twitch live stream. So if you haven't followed me over on Twitch, you're definitely missing out on some awesome content. But if you did happen to miss it, don't forget that I do have a second channel where all of these VODs do get published. And you can find that over on the Chosen Live channel. I have it also linked down in the description below. But of course, guys, I'm going to be live. So I'm going to go ahead and get things ready. And you know what? You're going to just get to see the product of that stream. The time lapse. Roll it. Now, after those lovely time lapses, I now have myself a lovely little tunnel and a bridge, if you could even call it a bridge, a little train track work area that ultimately leads into the nether. And I even made sure that in the nether there was tracks laying about because we all know that ghasts are very nasty in this area, and this all just leads right to the other side. So we not only have a passage through for our train, we have a passage for ourselves as well, if I want to use it. But the main goal for this is to not necessarily worry about the portals, but worry about how are we going to get items from that storage area and then load them into this area for a train over here to pick them up and take them to places around the base. That is going to be quite the challenge, but I think I have an idea in my head. And it's going to involve packages. See, we don't just have to use packages on chain conveyors. We can actually route them around on trains, we can route them around on belts, and you don't necessarily need to use frog ports in order to actually use them. Now, to do this and to not use frog ports, that's where the package filter is really going to play a pivotal role. See, what I'm thinking is we can have our packagers set up right here. These are going to load a package on whenever we have the stock link ticked. Now, to be able to have it ticked, we are going to have a factory gauge that is elsewhere. And thankfully, factory gauges, according to the mod itself, doesn't actually have a range. Unlike other methods, which would be kind of hard to handle going long distances to be able to make sure you keep certain things in stock, if you were to use redstone links, for example, they only can go up to 256 blocks by default. whereas these factory gauges can be all the way across the world so long as that area is loaded. And I think that's pretty darn cool. As of right now, I just have it essentially showing me how much is inside this vault. But this can be used to keep another vault, maybe keep it in stock to have like a stack, for example, similarly to how I did the mall. But this will also allow me to still generate bone meal here and only send over to the loading area as much as I really need, keeping the majority of it here in this system to make sure that only the excess really gets sent over. So not to complicate things any further, what I can start to work on here is I can start to label these things. Now, I want the package, I think, to be on the front. So on the side here, I'm just going to place a sign, and this will be like wheat, for example, and I'll call it wheat_CA because that's what's inside here. And I'll do the same for each of these. So on these contraptions, we have bone meal, we also have cocoa beans, and then we have sugarcane and S-berries for sweet berries. When it comes to signs, you only have so much room, so you might have to abbreviate sometimes. So what I think would be kind of nice is if we have a centralized belt that kind of runs right here. And what I'm thinking is we're going to have an interface that has to connect here. Now, if I have a train and I have an interface on the side, I would want the interface to be here, meaning that, sorry, I would want it right here on the edge, I think. And then I would want this location right here to be where the interface is on the packaging side. So this right here would be the perfect place for a belt. And then I could run another belt into it and run a belt from this side also into it. Now for this, I would just need to make sure we have 2 vertical gearbox, making sure it keeps the same rotational direction. And wouldn't you know it, this just so happens to be spinning at just the right direction. And man, that actually looks really, really clean. I think over here, what I'll do is I'll shrink this up. So I'll use my wrench. There we go. And so we'll have a funnel that pumps all of these items, and it needs to go into an interface that's going to ultimately connect to a train. Now, I'm still not quite sure how I want the interface system to be set up. Like, do I want the interface to be resting here and that be where it gets loaded on the bottom side of the train? Or do I want it? Yeah, no, you know what? I think I've already figured it out. It definitely needs to be on this level. It's just going to make loading and unloading so much easier. And on the train, I'll just have it be on the lower side where it connects. Now, thankfully, because the only thing that's going to be sending out of here is single packages, we don't really need anything other than an andesite funnel to send the packages onto the belt. So the packages will just be placed like this. And then on this interface, they'll all be scooped up, and they can only go somewhere when the train comes over here to pick them up. And the only time that we're actually going to have packages being sent out of here is if the amount that is inside of our containers over in our loading zone are actually being removed. So yeah, this system isn't even going to be used all that much. And I think it's going to be a pretty good way to regulate how many items are being sent out of here and stored onto a train without using the train to do that. Because I've played a lot of mod packs that require really complex logistics using trains. And I can tell you that it gets kind of complicated whenever you're trying to send multiple items like you see behind me. And this package system might have honestly made this entire system completely overhauled and so much better than it used to be, because it required complex setups with thresholds, multiple interfaces on your trains, and all kinds of stuff that required you to check how much was inside of your trains and all kinds of stuff, because there just wasn't a good way to detect how much was in a storage that was very far away. So now that this side is basically set up, what I need to do is I need to get some power running over to this area. And I don't know if I'm going to be actually transferring the Beardy Power Co. power over there. I mean, I could. It is going to take a lot of chain conveyors and a lot of stress to get that over there. I could do that. And running power all the way over here is just what I did. So I have chain conveyors now running through this, and the power is stretching all the way through the middle of my train track. And I really love this design. I still have a lot to decorate though when it comes to these. I just want everything to be so detailed, and I don't know why, but I just have that itch, and for some reason I really want these things to be fully decorated. But that's something I'll worry about later. As of right now, we still got to get those logistics set up. So I've got to pick up my stuff and head over there to get something very similar to this setup. However, it's going to be for loading vaults. Now, I guess it's time to start getting the vaults in. And I think I'm just going to do these simple 2x2x6s. These look really, really nice, and they fit really well. And I can put a bunch of these all the way lined through here, for any other future project we might have. Now on the back for loading, we need these packagers on here to make sure the items get unloaded from the package and goes inside the vault. And we also need the position, and we need a belt to essentially send all of these over here. Now I'm thinking the train comes through and it can stop right about here, at least for this. We're gonna have to use the train stations to define where this stops, but I'm thinking maybe like right here on the belt so it can hit this one first and then just run down this way. So I'll just rotate the shaft here, just like so. And this belt's going to be pretty short because this is going to be the wall. And if it's going to be like our other setup, remember, I was like, man, this right here needs to be where this exists, if it does exist on the train. So there's going to be a gap. And then this is where we actually need the interface. And the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to move this forward one. Now on the collection side here, we are going to need brass funnels. So brass funnels will have to be on the packagers themselves, but we actually don't need brass funnels on this. We just need a regular andesite funnel. And now we need to filter all of these, and this is how we're going to collect the packages. So now back over here, I'm going to essentially place in this ID, and it's going to be a package filter that looks specifically for this. And you can see right there is the actual ID that it is going to need. And I've got to do the same thing for all of these. Now back here at the storage facility, I think this is where I get to sort of organize stuff. So we have our wheat, sweet berries, sugarcane, cocoa beans, and bone meal. And I'm thinking bone meal, probably going to be this one. And this is how we're going to define what package gets picked up. So now just to test that this works, I'm going to rip off the factory gauge up here. And then I just need to click it onto this stock link. And we're going to take it all the way back over here. And I've got to get it attached to that packager. So over here on the packager, this is the one that is going to house the bone meal. And so I will place that on there. And we need to make sure bone meal is what's defined inside, just like so. And then we need to set the amount to keep in stock. For example, we'll say 1 in here, and then the address that will cause the package to arrive here. Oh, that's right. I may not have actually needed the signs, but the address that should go in here is going to be the address that we have filtered. So I will go ahead and take that, and I will place this in here. And now that it has an address, we should have a package that's essentially setting waiting to be placed inside of the portable interface on the other side. And looky there, exactly what we need. And thankfully, it's only going to send this box. And you can see it's labeled Bone Mill CA. It has an entire stack in it. And this other side, this factory gauge, isn't going to send another until it knows that it has received this package. So it's going to wait and it's going to hold. And that's the important part. And I'm hoping this works even when like the server restarts and stuff like that. Because if it doesn't, this could potentially break, but it's not going to cause that much problem because the train is still going to be cycling back and forth. So just to make sure that it does work, let's make sure to toss this onto the belt. That then gets picked up, and it now basically says, hey, we have 1 stack, and it won't try to send any more. So this is absolutely perfect. Now, I've got to build a little bit of a truck that goes back and forth and does this package sending. And you know what? I was thinking, what if this doesn't actually look like a train? What if instead it looks more like a truck? So I guess we can go ahead and start building this train. And I'm thinking right here, truck, train, whatever. Anyways, let's go ahead and place the train station down just to get it nice and built. And we need to get this in train creation mode. Now I notice as soon as I apply this, notice it goes 1 block back behind the position that I actually linked it to. And that's something we kind of need to keep in mind. So with that knowledge in mind, knowing that it is going to move back, this is where the bogey is actually going to be. I kind of want the loading zone to sort of be like in the start of the truck cab or right afterwards. So let's go about 3 ahead, and then we'll set the train station. And like I said, this can be anywhere because we can remove this later on, and then we can actually get the bogey in. Now I'm going to try my best to make this look as best I can, not like a train. And it is going to be a single unit. So we're going to have this, and it's also going to be attached to the other side. But I think what I'm going to do is I want this to be clicked. We click the track, right? And I want to turn this into a wheel. Now, I'm not sure where the other wheel is going to be just yet, but I still am going to start getting this sort of set up. It's going to have a wheel in the front, and a wheel in the back, basically. So now I've added some metal girders underneath, and to hold the packages, I believe that the depots can actually store the packages and they display them when they're traveling back and forth. So the only storage that's going to be on this train is just a bunch of depots for holding the packages. Now, because this train is going to be going back and forth, it is going to need 2 separate train controls. And I'll place one on the front, one on the back, and in the middle, because we're sending it through the nether, and just to avoid the potential of our mob seated dying, I'm going to use a blaze burner. Honestly, blaze burners are some of the best conductors because, yeah, you just don't have to worry about them dying. And I have had train conductors die, especially going through the nether. So there we go. We now have our conductor who is seated nicely inside of the truck. I just have to build the cab up a little bit. Now the cab is slowly coming together. I still want the roof to be a little bit taller, so I'm probably going to add some more slabs. But you can see right here, this is the train controls. I still need to be able to get in here just in case I need to manually control it from time to time, definitely early on. But the smokestacks are going to look pretty cool. So right here, we have our chute that leads up and another chute and then campfire on top of that. And then I need to find some way to conceal the campfires themselves. Probably just going to use some copycat panels and some sort of metal looking texture. So after a lot of tinkering, this is basically what I've come up with. So it still uses the train wheels, and we have the train wheels back here, but it does look a lot more like an actual truck than a train, or at least I think it does. Of course, I'm gonna leave that up to you guys in the comments. Does this definitely suit the train aesthetic, or the truck aesthetic, I should be saying? Like I said, let me know down in the comments below. I still love the idea of using these redstone quartz lamps. Like this, or the rose quartz lamps, I mean. These look really nice. You can toggle them on and off like this. And then for the headlights, I'm just going to be using some Nixie tubes. Hopefully I can get those glued together. Now again, the storage interface is going to go right here. So when we actually go to set up the train station location, we're going to have to keep in mind the position for the interfaces and make sure they line up when we do this. Now everything is glued together. Let's see if we can assemble this bad boy. Train is now assembled. We can pop in, and I think I can reach over here and grab the train controls. I don't have a seat, but I think I got everything glued together. And we now successfully have ourselves a train truck. So now's the fun part for you guys. What should we call this thing? Because these trains can be named, and for right now, I'm going to leave it unnamed until you guys come up with a name. And I'm pretty excited, but also kind of scared because of some of the names you guys suggest. Now, I guess it's time to set up the train stations themselves and make sure that this aligns appropriately. So what we can do to make sure this happens is we can manually set up our train and have our train line up just until we get this like basically connected. It's going to be really hard to see, isn't it? But right about here, give or take. And because we know if our train is set up one block in front, we should be able to get that train station moved, right? So this is the position roughly here. And we've got to get this basically on this track right here. That's where this needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this block to mark it. It's going to make it a little bit easier to set the train station. And then try my best to place the train station in. So there it is. It's linked in for now. We can always move this later, but just making sure that that mark is set. And let's try this out now. Let's go ahead and back the train up and then move the train forward, and we should be able to reach the train station, and it's locked in. And let's check. Ah, perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. Now here's something funny, and I didn't even mean to do this. I did not realize these could reach that far. I didn't know they could reach over 2 blocks like that, but they definitely are reaching. And I've never seen these extended this far before. Now with the train assembled, let's go ahead and pop in. Oh goodness. Let's go in, pop in. We'll shut the doors, and well, I'm gonna have to drive this thing through the nether. So we're gonna get to see what this thing actually looks like when it travels through the nether. Oh, that's right. I wasn't in a seat, and you have to be in a seat. I didn't put any seats in here. You know what? I think it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Like our train, oh, probably went through the nether. I I don't know if it's possible. Now, this won't be a problem when we're not riding it, but let's see. I can move the train. Perfect. Okay. And then to rotate it the correct direction. There we go. And then I can try this again where I go through, let the door be open, and yeah, grab a hold of the train, continue our way through the portal, or it continue through the portal because I'm not going to be a part of it. And then we're going to make our way back. Now, like I said, this isn't going to be a problem when it's controlling itself, but man, oh man, while it's over here, it looks even better. And I was thinking too, I could even add some like rail things underneath here to make it look like it's not so much like a track. But I've got to get this thing all the way over here, and we need to get it situated. Oh, and it's going to hit the bumpers in the back. That's fine. We got to get it situated so it's lined up perfectly here. And this looks like just the spot, so make sure our arrows are facing that direction. And for right now, I'm going to place the train station right here. And let's realign just to make sure everything is functioning correctly. There we go. And line up with the train station. Perfect. I think this... Aha, yes, is exactly where we need it. Now for the station, we do need to label these. So this is going to be farm unload or farm load. On the other side, this one can be farm unload. Yeah, I think that's going to be perfect. Ooh, now I might want to preface _CA on here so that way it is identified, because whenever we make the schedule, there might be more than one train station that this can potentially see. Now that both of the train stations are ready to go, it's time for the train schedule, and this is by far my favorite part, because this is where you essentially program what your trains are going to do. And there's a lot you can do with this. And I've made this to be very, very simple so we don't have to go too in depth here. But we do need it to travel from train station to train station. That's our first sort of major thing we needed to do. But we also have it set to deliver packages. We aren't really going to be worrying about delivering packages. That's not really what we're doing. Even though we are sending packages, the delivering the packages is actually not what this train is going to be doing. It's just going to be traveling, dropping off products, and then it's going to be coming back, filling up with products and going back and forth. So our first station to travel is going to be the farm unload. It's going to travel from here, go to farm unload. Then we need it to go back. So let's select our other one, which is farm load. Perfect. So I think once you select it, it already knows what the other train stations are that are on that select track. So it looks like it automatically judges that there. But once we have this defined, then we get to set what it's actually doing once it stops at each of these places. So wait 5 seconds would work. I think the delay and the wait is pretty good, but there's a couple of other things that we can do. For the unload, we're probably going to want to wait until either the train is unloaded, or we can just have it constantly going back and forth, and we can just choose a time. And like I said, you can change a lot of those parameters here, add different conditions. There's time of day, like if the cargo container is full or not, if players are seated, cargo inactivity. I think cargo inactivity is sort of a good way to do this. So instead of doing what this says, instead we can go cargo inactivity, and we can say, hey, wait about 30 seconds. If the cargo stops doing any action, just wait until it has done no actions for 30 seconds, and then it will continue on its way. So we can also delete this section as well. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and this one as well, cargo inactivity, set it for about 30 seconds. I find this to be pretty decent. And if it is too long, you can always increase that time. But I think for right now, this is just going to check for 30 seconds, essentially going to stop guaranteed for 30 seconds at each stop every time. And it's going to go back and forth, and it is by default looping forever. And that's what we want. So with that set, I mean, we're basically ready to go. All we have to do is get our factory gauges set up, and our train is ready to take off. And we just got to give it to our blaze burner. Once we do that, there it goes. And we now have a truck that's going to be going back and forth through the portal and everything. Oh, goodness. Yep. Just like so. And if we check over here, that should have gone through, and look at it parked at its station, ready to wait for that inactivity. And it is ready to then pack up and go backwards after it's waited about 30 seconds. So yes, we're going to have a train running back and forth, or I mean a truck running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, and back and forth. Now, as much as I would love for there to not be any problems, it's saying information about the train, no suitable path to next scheduled destination could be found. And I am very unsure why this is actually the case. See, if there's two train controls, this should allow the train to go, okay, well, I can't go forward anymore, so I'm going to go backwards through the portal. That's how it's worked, so I'm very unsure why. Oh, that's right, because if it is a directional train, these, and it's only going in one direction, these have to be pointing in the same direction on both ends. I completely forgot about that. So I believe that this needs to be facing the opposite direction. Since both of them I did place this way, this one I think needs to be turned backwards. So I can copy this, pick that back up, and then have it facing the correct direction. So they're basically going to be facing opposites of one another. And then just make sure to rename that. And I think that might fix it. Ah, yeah, there we go. Navigation successful. Wouldn't you know it? It's traveling backwards, ready to be picked up and ready to connect. Okay, I think it's about time for the logistics. Oh, this is another problem. Okay, so that means I am going to have to fix this train station. Let's grab the schedule, and we've got to get this aligned correctly. Perfect for right now, and then I'll place that, make sure the naming is the same, and we don't have to modify or schedule anything once that's done. Place it in, and it should be good to go. Also, getting back here, I did realize I spelled this wrong. A little bit of a typo, but I did fix it, and there's the train, and I'm going to fix it both on the schedule and on the station. So now that I've gotten all of these set up, there's another problem. For some reason, I requested more of the bone meal to be sent, and that means there's a package that needs to be sent, but it's not actually sending it to the train, and I'm wondering if it can't actually store the packages in the depots. Like, I thought that it would do that and show them, but maybe it needs to be in package sending mode specifically. Wait, now there's not even a package that was sent. Wait, there it goes. So is this a chunk loading issue? Because while it was standing over there, it didn't actually pick the package up. I wonder if this is a chunk loading issue. This is right outside the chunk loading range. Like right outside of the chunk loaded range. Oh no. It's definitely going to be a chunk loading issue, it seems like. And I think we might end up getting chunk loaders. Yeah, there it went this time. But you'll see, if I go to request another one, it's going to put the package in, but this train's going to go out and it's going to come back, and it's probably not going to have a package on it. Maybe. So here comes the train, and notice there is no package on here. So yes, it is definitely a chunk loading issue, because if we go back, that package is 100% sitting on there. It must be right outside of the 3 chunks that do stay chunk loaded. This might be fixed in the future. We're going to have a meeting, and I'm hoping that we can get the new chunk loader mod in here that will allow us to use create to chunk load our areas, because this is going to pose quite the issue if our trains can't actually do the things they're supposed to do when they're not in an area. That seems like really weird. But you know what? I am pretty happy at this, because look, when the package does successfully go in, it does show up. And that means I can have multiple requested, and yeah, it'll actually show all the cardboard boxes on here. That's so cute. I love this. Now, of course, be sure to join my Discord. I will have this train schematic over on the Discord. So if you want a truck like this just in your world and you want to experiment with it going back and forth, definitely be sure to check out the Discord. It should be in the schematics channel, and it's free. You don't have to be a supporter or anything like that, so just basically download it. That's all you gotta do. But if you are looking to support, you can definitely check it out on the Discord. That is one of the best ways to support. So yeah, so maybe you can like buy me a cup of coffee or something sometime. Now, of course, guys, if you enjoy videos just like this, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a huge thumbs up, as these do take a tremendous amount of time to record. And also don't forget to check me out over on Twitch. Twitch.tv/ChosenArchitect, where you would have gotten to see all of those time lapses happening in real time and getting to hang out with me. So if that's something you enjoy, definitely check that out as well. And guys, well, it's about time we say goodbye, as it is the end of today's episode. So as always, I do want to give a huge shout out to the supporter of today's episode, and that huge thanks is going to go out to none other than not sweet berries, wheat hard. There we go. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so very much. And guys, if you enjoyed this, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.